Hi, this is Brian Wood with Snorkel, and today I'm going to highlight our partnership with Databricks. So we're going to look at how these platforms integrate with each other and highlight a couple of specific points. Those are how we can ingest data from Databricks into Snorkel, how we can use Databricks model serving endpoints to prompt models to label data, how we can register models from Snorkel Flow into Databricks for hosting, and how we can export our curated labeled data from Snorkel Flow back into our Databricks platform. Today we're going to look at a chatbot intent classification use case. So I've got my data in the Databricks Hive Metastore here. And as we can see, we've got ground truth for a lot of these chatbot utterances, but we also have a lot of unknowns. So we need to pull this data into Snorkel Flow and go through that data development process so that we can label all of our data to train our model. So over here in the Snorkel Flow platform, the first thing we're going to do is upload our data from Databricks into Snorkel Flow. And we have a Databricks SQL connector, so you just need to set this up using your Databricks credentials. And I've got a configuration saved that I'll use here. And I just need to enter my query for the data, and the platform will run a few checks and then import that data so that I can create an application and move forward with labeling my data. Now that we've got our data loaded, we're going to start writing some labeling functions. The first thing we're going to look at is how we can use an LLM to label our data. This is usually a great way to get started. And so I've got configurations for several different LLMs, and today we're going to use DBRX hosted off the Databricks platform. And so here I've written my prompt, and I'm basically asking the LLM to label my data for me. And I can go ahead and run a preview here and modify my prompt and see what the results are going to be. And once I'm happy with that prompt, I can go ahead and create that labeling function. Once my prompt's finished running, we'll see that I've built my first labeling function, and it's got about 60% accuracy relative to my ground truth, but high coverage. And that's to be expected. These big general models are good at general problems and need to be tuned to your domain-specific data, but this is a great starting point. We don't want to throw out these labels. We want to iterate from here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build a model based off of these labels, and that model is going to provide me guided error analysis on where I need to continue developing my data to further refine my model. Now that I've got my initial model complete, I can come into my error analysis tools and see where I have gaps in my labels and gaps in my models, and then iterate from there by continuing to develop additional labeling functions. Now that we've identified where we have gaps in our labeled data, we're going to come in here and write some additional labeling functions to further fine-tune our training set data. Using our analytic tools, we can see that we're struggling with the pending transfer labels. So what I'm going to do next is look at these examples and find some keywords that will consistently identify these utterances. And I'm going to write a labeling function that looks for these specific patterns to more precisely label this narrow set of my data. Embeddings offer another way to programmatically label your data in addition to using LLMs and the patterns that we've looked at. So I can come into our embeddings view and find certain clusters that are going to fill in the rest of those gaps for my training set. After I've written some labeling functions, I'm going to build another model and see how that model improved, and then continue this routine of error-guided analysis until I'm satisfied with the accuracy. After a few more iterations of this data development process, I'm satisfied with my model accuracy, and I'm ready to export the model. The next thing I'm going to do is deploy our application to our Unity catalog in Databricks, and I can do that right here from Snorkel Flow by hitting Deploy Application. And so I just need to give my deployment a name, an experiment name, and pick my ML Flow registry, and just hit Deploy. Once I've deployed my model from Snorkel Flow, I can see that it's present in my Unity catalog and ready to be served for inference. The last thing we want to do is insert our label data back into our Hive Metastore, which we can do easily from the Snorkel Flow SDK using our Databricks extension. Now that I've exported my labeled data from Snorkel Flow, I can come back to Databricks and validate that the data has been loaded correctly. And so looking at my original data set where I had a lot of unknown ground truths, I can see that using Snorkel Flow, I've generated labels for almost all of my data. In this video, we looked at 4 key integration points between Databricks and Snorkel Flow. We looked at how to ingest raw data from the Hive Metastore into Snorkel, how to use the DBRX model to write labeling functions within Snorkel, how to register a custom model developed in Snorkel Flow back to the Unity catalog, and finally, how to send labeled training data from Snorkel back into Databricks. If you would like any more information, please request a demo or a follow-up on our website.